Yeah, pause YouTube. How's it going, everybody? Have for you guys today an OU Wi-Fi battle had against Midnight Wings off of my Discord. But before we get into this, for those of you who are not aware, Naganadel actually recently got banned from OU. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below, since that is the question of the day. I will let you guys know my thoughts about it after the actual battle itself. So want to give a huge thanks to everybody who did answer yesterday's comment question of the day. Only a handful of you guys said that you liked Line Citra as opposed to no Line Citra, as where a majority of you guys said that you like no Line Citra more than Line Citra. So I most likely will be going with no Line Citra uploads from here on out for my Ultra Sun and Moon Wi-Fi battles when they're post-commentated. So yeah, again, thank you everybody for leaving your thoughts about that in yesterday's video. So going into this game, I was using a pretty cool team that I believe I got from my boy Jordy. If I'm not mistaken, it was based around Specs, Tapu Koko, Mega Gallade, and Naganadel. Obviously, I had this battle a few days ago, so yeah, I didn't use this after I found out Naga got banned. But going into this battle, the biggest threats on my opponent's side of the field were going to be the wall core of Celesteela plus Mega Venusaur, and then Zygarde thrown in there is very, very annoying because Zygarde can just stop me from breaking Celesteela with my Specs Tapu Koko, so I have to try and get rid of Zygarde if I want to be able to have a good chance to win this battle, because again, Celesteela plus Mega Venusaur is really, really problematic. So I'm going to be leading off with my Tapu Koko as he ends up leading off with the Greninja. Turns out that he has the U-turn with Protean, which means he most likely is a Choice Scarf set, because typically Protean, U-turn, Greninja turn out to be Scarf. Also, I didn't want to stay in and take a Gunk Shot potentially, which is why I brought in Landorus. As he U-turns into the Blacephalon, I don't want to get absolutely blown back by a Fire Blast or a Never-Ending Nightmare or something along those lines, so I do end up making the safe switch directly into my Tyranitar as he makes a good prediction, expects that, and is going to double out into the Greninja. Now, this is actually a little bit annoying because this Greninja could prove to be a bit of a nuisance in this battle. Now, I don't want to stay in and take any unnecessary damage coming from a U-turn, so I'm going to make an aggressive switch into my Naganadel, but it turns out that he actually ends up going for the low kick, and the fact that Greninja could even learn low kick completely escaped my mind. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was actually so close to staying in, trying to pursue him as he went for the U-turn, but it's a good thing I did it, because if I had lost Tyranitar in this battle, Blacephalon plus Latios would have been absolutely terrifying. So I'm going to double out here into my Tapu Koko, because even if he stayed in to go for the low kick again, I do resist it, and then from there I could go for a Volt Switch or a Dazzling Gleam potentially, but because he did end up switching into the Celesteela, I will take this opportunity to go straight for the Volt Switch, because he should not risk bringing in Zygarde, considering that he does have regular Venusaur in the back. Regular Venusaur is definitely a good middle ground play, because if I had gone for Hidden Power Ice there and I caught the incoming Zygarde, it would have been absolutely blown back, and then I would have been able to just spam Volt Switch and Thunderbolt with my Koko. So him switching into Venusaur was a very safe play and good play on his part. As I can Volt Switch into my Gallade here, I will be able to safely Mega Evolve. Typically, I don't see Sleep Powder on Mega Venusaur nowadays, so I felt very comfortable in just Megaing here and going straight for the knockoff. There was no reason for him to have risked leaving in Venusaur in that scenario. Plus, by going for the knockoff, I can get rid of whatever comes in. I can get rid of the item of whatever comes in here, and getting rid of leftovers on the Celesteela is actually very handy, because now it's going to be a little bit more manageable, since he can't go for Protect every other turn and gain back that guaranteed 6% from leftovers. So that's going to be really good for me in this battle, as he does end up going for the Elite Seed on my switch into the Landorus. This is not that big of an issue, considering that the only reason I really brought in my Landorus was to go for the Stealth Rocks. I want to absolutely get up Stealth Rocks in this battle, so I can ensure that extra 12% or 6% damage on his teams. Mainly the Celesteela, the Mega Venusaur, and the Zygarde is what I really wanted Rocks up for, because I need to chip down that wall core, and I need to get rid of Zygarde so I can break through Celesteela with my Tapu Koko. So he did end up going for the Protect on my Stealth Rocks, which is fine. As his next turn, I'm just going to go for the U-turn. I get a crit, which still does only like 2%, as I'm gonna U-turn directly into my Tapu Koko. I did not expect him to go straight for a heavy slam. He most likely is gonna want to go for the lead seat again, just to be able to start wearing down whatever I could potentially try to switch into Celesteela. So him lead seating there was a very solid play in his position. And this is actually a little bit annoying because if he protects here, he's going to be able to see what I lock myself into, and then if I lock myself into Hidden Power Ice or Dazzling Gleam, he can just stay in. If I lock myself into Volt Switch or Thunderbolt, he can just bring in Zygarde. So I'm going to switch directly into my Gallade, expecting him to want to go for the Protect, but he actually ends up hard switching directly into his Zygarde, and that's a little bit questionable in my opinion. He definitely should have gone for the Protect there, but I don't carry the Ice Punch on my Gallade, so I can't stay in against the Zygarde and knock him out. So I'm going to have to switch directly back into my Landers, as he actually switches into his Greninja, probably expecting me to go for the Ice Punch with my Gallade. Or in this case, if I did switch out, Greninja does have a good matchup against whatever I wanted to potentially switch into against the Zygarde. So I'm in a really bad spot again, and I have to switch out here. I don't want to risk taking an Ice Beam, so I'm going to make the safe switch into my Keldeo here, because I didn't want to risk bringing in Naganadel, as he could potentially go for the Ice Beam. Keldeo was definitely a good middle ground play here, as he does end up going for the U-turn once more. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this Keldeo is either Choice Scarf or it's Waterium Z. I don't remember right now, but I'll leave a paste spin of the team down in the description, so either way you guys will see exactly what it is. So he does end up bringing the Latios. I do have a Tyranitar waiting in the back, so I'm gonna hard switch directly into that. Even if he did want to double back out into the Greninja, expecting me to make this play, that would have been perfectly fine by me, because it would have meant that I was able to keep up my rocks, and whatever came in could have taken Stealth Rocks damage along with Sandstorm damage. But he did automatically go for the defog, which means I'm in a pretty good spot to just safely go for the pursuit. I do not want to let this Latios get out of here for free. So even if he did stay in and went for the Draco Meteor, because I am Assault Vest and I have the +1 in my special defense from the sand, that Draco Meteor does practically no damage to me. Unfortunately though, I don't do enough damage to put him in range of where the Sandstorm is going to be able to knock him out, so I do have to take another hit from this Latios, and this is a little bit of a problem because I need my Tyranitar in order to also deal with his Blacephalon, and at this amount of HP, I'm not sure if I can safely switch in and take 2 hits from the Blacephalon, so I have to be very careful around that monster. So he ends up bringing in his Greninja here. I do expect him to want to go for the low kick or go for the U-turn, so I'm going to make the safe switch into my Naganadel this time. There was also a chance he might have been able to go for the extra sensory, so I guess in a sense switching in the Naga was a little bit risky, but he did luckily just go for the U-turn, as he ends up U-turning into the Zygarde. This is actually kind of bad, because at this range of HP, an Extreme Speed does actually knock me out, and Naganadel can still do some work in this battle, because if anything, I can get off a Flamethrower on the Celesteela and potentially Nasty Plot as he goes for a Protect, and then just pressure Celesteela. So I want to still save my Naganadel later in this battle. So I'm going to make the safe switch back into my Landers, as he ends up making a good double switch here into a Celesteela, and we're back in the same scenario that we were in earlier, where I have to get on my rocks here, and he can safely just go for a Leech Seed or the Protect if he really wanted to, but it actually ends up going for the Heavy Slam. Thankfully, I am very physically defensive, so that Heavy Slam does practically no damage. I guess he also maybe thought that I was going to try and hard switch into my Koko or my Gallade, so that does kind of make some sense, and I can't do anything to Celesteela again with my Lander, so I am going to be forced to switch out here as I do U-turn into my Tapu Koko. I was really hoping that this turn he would just safely go for the Leech Seed, seeing how little damage the Heavy Slam did. I did not expect him to want to go for the Heavy Slam again, as he does end up going for the Leech Seed. And again, we're in the same scenario as earlier, where if he protects, he scouts out what I want to lock myself into, and that could be very detrimental to me. So I'm going to make, again, a hard switch right into my Gallade, expecting him to go for the Protect, but once again, he doesn't protect, and he instead ends up switching directly on out here, and this time he ends up bringing in the Venusaur, which means, unlike Zygarde, I actually do have a move that hits this Mega Venusaur for super effective damage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to decide to go for the Swords Dance, because even if he did have Sleep Powder, thanks to the electric terrain, he can't put me to sleep. So worst case scenario is that he goes for the Sludge Bomb and he potentially gets a poison. But at that point, I'm a +2, and he has no safe switch into a +2 Mega Gallade. So I'm guaranteed to either knock out this Mega Venusaur or knock out the Zygarde or Celesteela, which are realistically his only other 2 switch-ins to my Gallade, as he actually ends up switching directly into his Blacephalon. Funny enough, I was actually very, very close to going for the close combat this turn, because I thought that maybe he was going to predict me to go for the Zen Headbutt and hard switch directly into his Greninja, although that would have been a really risky play for him to have made. I'm really happy that last second I decided to go for the Zen Headbutt, and I'm able to get rid of the Blacephalon, which is excellent because now my Tyranitar can be used for Death Fodder to potentially be sacked off to this Greninja. Unfortunately, I do get a little lucky here as he ends up missing the Gunk Shot, and that miss does play a really big role here because now he can't 2 KO my Naganadel. But if he had hit the Gunk Shot, I most likely would have switched out either way because I do still have Landorus and I still have Tyranitar in the back. And as I mentioned earlier, Naga can still be used to break through Celesteela potentially. If not, then I can still just get off a huge hit on it. So I end up flamethrowing the incoming Mega Venusaur here, and I'm going to go straight for my Devastating Drake this turn. Even if he did want to bring in the Celesteela, that would have been absolutely fine by me because he would have taken the Devastating Drake damage on top of the Stealth Rock's damage, and because I knocked off his leftovers earlier in the battle, he wouldn't have been able to gain back that extra 6 or 12% with Protect. So I really did not lose too much in going for the Devastating Drake, as I'm able to break through the Venusaur. That is really good. However, though, he still has Zygarde in the back that can switch into my Tapu Koko's Volt Switches and Thunderbolts, as he ends up bringing in the Greninja here. He does get a crit, which is really good for him, but again, because he missed that Gunk Shot earlier, it doesn't really matter too much because I'm in a position of where I can honestly just click Flamethrower, or I could have just sacked off Naga to the Greninja if it came down to it. So I'm able to catch the incoming Celesteela, and this is absolutely huge because now I will be able to knock it out with another Flamethrower, as he does expect me to Flamethrower once more. There was no way I was going to go for Nasty Plot or go for a Draco Meteor in that scenario, knowing how big of a threat Celesteela really was to my team, as Zygarde does take this Flamethrower. At this point, I don't have use for my Naganadel, so I will be able to leave it in here for Death Fodder, and down it goes. What this now allows me to do is bring in my Gallade. If anything, all I really want to do is get off damage with my close combat so I can then safely bring in my Keldeo and go for the Scald, but unfortunately I get a crit, and again, that is very helpful to me because now with Zygarde gone, my Tapu Koko can just win this battle. Plus, with a combination of Landorus, Tapu Koko, and Tyranitar still in the back, there is no one move that this Scarf Greninja can lock himself into that will be able to beat those Pokemon. So yeah, it does really suck that he missed the Gunk Shot and I got a crit there on the close combat. If anything, this match, I still believe I would have won this match even if I didn't get that hacks, but this match would have been so much closer. It would have most likely been at least a 2 or 3-0 as opposed to what is going to be a 5-0 now. So yeah, I do feel a little bit bad about the hacks, but then again, that is Pokemon. In the end, I still felt this was a good match, and like I said, it still would have been a 2 or 3-0 in my victory, and it would have just been a lot closer than, unfortunately, a 5-0. So yeah, good game to Midnight Wing. Of course, if you guys would ever like to battle me, feel free to come check out my Discord. That is where I mainly take battles. So yeah, now my thoughts on Naganadel being banned. I 100% agree with the Naganadel ban. I really feel like that thing was way too centralizing in OU, because after it got a speed boost, offensive teams were absolutely destroyed by it. All the walls that could typically deal with it were just set up, and they could Nasty Plot, and then at that point just blow them back with a +2 Devastating Drake and gain the speed boost, and then it's got +2 special attack to still just manhandle whatever you want to bring in against it. So yeah, I personally feel like the Naga ban was absolutely necessary. Let me know what you guys think about it, answer that in the comment section below. With that being said, guys, I will see you all tomorrow. So thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6 foot hacks. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks, yeah. 6 foot hacks.